Today, I want to share a letter with you. And this was written by a former Jehovah's Witness. He emailed me, and I want to read to you what he said in his email before we actually read the letter. So he says, "Hi, Chuck. Nearly everyone has known at least one Jehovah's Witness in one's lifetime. Yet, virtually no one knows what JWs actually believe. The attached proselytizing letter was allegedly composed by an awakened PIMO, which I'll stop right quick and just explain. PIMO, PIMO, means physically in, mentally out. So, the attached proselytizing letter was allegedly composed by an awakened PIMO JW who hasn't yet left the religion for fear of losing one's entire social network of family and friends. The letter essentially serves two purposes. It informs non JWs of actual Watchtower teachings, and it helps sincere JWs to hear how utterly insane Watchtower teachings sound when expressed candidly in a letter. Call it passive aggressive activism, if you will. It is very effective because no honest JW will deny that these are current Watchtower teachings which every JW has embraced as the truth. The phone numbers in the letters are to Watchtower offices in Warwick, Wallkill, and Patterson. Every member of the JW governing body has received a personal copy of the letter in the mail. The letter has been read on at least 10 ex-JW YouTube channels. His letter is signed, "Sincerely yours, Roger." So I got in touch with Roger. He actually gave me his phone number, and I talked to him the other day. And I found out that Roger is the one who wrote this letter. And the reason that he did it is because he had received some letters from JWs, and they were just very poorly written. And so it put the thought in his head, well, what if Jehovah's Witnesses were actually honest about what they believed in these letters that they sent? And I myself have received some of these letters, especially since the shutdowns. And in fact, when he and I were talking, I mentioned to him that since the shutdowns, I have not seen any of the local Jehovah's Witnesses going out and proselytizing door to door. All I've seen are these letters. Now, he informed me that they would send out these letters even before the shutdowns, but we both kind of came to the conclusion that maybe it's become more prominent since the shutdowns. And that's just our own speculation. Like I said, here where I live, that seems to be the case. Anyways, I want to show you just a sample of one of these letters before we read this letter that Roger wrote. So this is Jehovah's Witnesses official website. This is jw.org. And they actually have a page on there. I didn't know about this. I just Googled Jehovah's Witness letters. They actually have a page on their website where they explain writing these letters. This is what it says. Use your own return address. If you feel that it would be unwise to give your own address, you may use the Kingdom Hall address if the elders give you permission to do so. However, you should never use the address of the branch office as your return address. Use the person's name if you know it. This will avoid giving the impression that the letter is a commercial advertisement. Give attention to proper spelling, grammar, and punctuation. The letter should look neat, not messy. If it is handwritten, it should be easy to read. The wording should be neither too casual nor too formal. The included sample letter illustrates these points. It is not meant to be copied word for word each time you write someone in your territory. Tailor your letter according to its purpose and local circumstances and customs. So this is what it says. Dear Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, my husband and I live in your neighborhood. We have not been able to speak with you personally, but we have some important information that we want to share with you. A sample of it is contained in the enclosed tract. Our work is not commercial and is done in over 200 lands. We volunteer to help people learn the Bible's answers to such important questions as why does God allow suffering? What is God's purpose for the earth? How can we make our family life happy? We engage in this activity because we are genuinely interested in our neighbors. It is our hope that someday soon we will be able to talk to you personally. Please feel free to get in touch with us at the above address or visit the official website of Jehovah's Witnesses, www.jw.org. So, the letters that I have received personally, I feel like, and if memory serves me well, they are exact copies of this. Like, they did not really customize it in any way, maybe except for putting names or something like that. But as for the meat of the letter, this is the same letter. And as I was talking to Roger, he said that generally what would happen with these letters is when the Jehovah's Witnesses would come to your house, they would come 3 times. And if they couldn't ever get you after the 3 times, then they would send one of these letters. Now, like I said, here where I live in southern New Mexico, it seems like this has sort of replaced the door-to-door proselytizing ever since the shutdowns. I haven't even seen them setting up and handing out books at storefronts or anything like that, which was very common previously. So Roger wrote this letter, and what he does is he sent this out to the governing body, and he sent it out many, many places. He does not tell them who he is. He has even went in person to where Jehovah's Witnesses have been set up locally there in Texas and approached them with the letter. And kind of the response that he usually gets is, that's written by an apostate. That's written by someone who has been removed from Jehovah's Witnesses. And so he asks them, well, aren't these your beliefs? And they say, yes, but we can tell by the way it's written and all of that, it was actually written by an apostate. So it's curious that if they admit these are their beliefs, why they don't just take credit for the letter. So let's read the letter. Now, one thing that I want to mention is there are some scripture references and stuff in this letter in parenthesis. This is how Jehovah's Witnesses interpret the letter. Dear neighbor, since the end of the world as we know it is dangerously near, we are writing you to tell you the things your minister has not told you, but which Jehovah's Witnesses, jw.org, want you to know. Jesus Christ, as Michael the Archangel, returned visibly in the year 1914, the start of the last days, and proceeded to judge all Christian religions. In 1919, Jesus personally selected the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, aka Jehovah's Witnesses, as God's spirit-directed organization to preach the good news of God's kingdom before God destroys all human governments and false religion in the approaching battle of Armageddon, Matthew 24:14. Therefore, it is imperative that everyone who wishes to avoid destruction by Jehovah at Armageddon become a Jehovah's Witness as soon as possible. Admittedly, Watchtower previously claimed that Armageddon would definitely occur in 1914, then again in 1925. Then it was strongly suggested that it would occur in 1975, when Watchtower officials coined the phrase, "stay alive till 75." But those were just the predictions of imperfect men. This time, however, the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses is really sure, so do not hesitate any longer. Do not make the common mistake of reading your Bible without the aid of Watchtower publications, because you might conclude that Jehovah's Witnesses are wrong. The governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses is Christ's faithful and discreet slave. Matthew 24:45 through 47. And only the governing body can accurately interpret the Bible. So forget everything your minister has told you, because all religions except for Jehovah's Witnesses are false religion, and their ministers are actually ministers of Satan who has blinded their eyes. They may preach that Jesus is the mediator between God and man, 1 Timothy 2:5, but they have not told you that Jesus is only the mediator for the 144,000 Christians who are spirit anointed to go to heaven. True, Jesus said that no one comes to the Father except through him, but the only way to Jesus is through the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, the faithful and discreet slave. Only 144,000 Christians were given the hope of going to heaven with Jesus, Revelation 14:1. All other Christians who survive Armageddon will enjoy everlasting life on a cleansed paradise earth, Psalm 37:10 and 11. Only a small number of those 144,000 spirit-anointed Christians remains on earth today, and all of those are Jehovah's Witnesses. They alone should partake of the bread and wine when commemorating the annual Lord's evening meal. Jehovah's Witnesses believe it is a sin to accept life-saving blood transfusions, because the Bible plainly tells Christians to abstain from blood, Acts 15:20. Admittedly, many scholars say that the only biblical prohibition regarding blood was against eating the blood of animals killed for food. But those scholars are wrong, because the faithful and discreet slave says so. Thousands of Jehovah's Witness men, women, and children have died for refusing life-saving blood transfusions, because only the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses can determine what is or is not a matter of conscience, because they speak for Jehovah himself. And according to Watchtower, one must be prepared to obey the governing body or one's local elders, even if doing so makes no sense from a strategic or human standpoint. If one dies needlessly by doing so, there is always the resurrection hope for those who die for obeying the governing body. People who leave their family's religion and become a Jehovah's Witness are often disowned and shunned by their families. Such persecution is to be expected because Jesus said he came to cause such divisions among families. However, when Jehovah's Witnesses ostracize, cut off, and shun family members who leave their religion for reasons of conscience, such as unscriptural watchtower teachings and practices. It is out of love to help the straying one return to Jehovah. Tearing families apart out of love is encouraged by the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. Don't be distracted by all the lawsuits and negative publicity against Jehovah's Witnesses for failing to report the crimes of pedophile elders, ministerial servants, and pioneer missionaries within their congregations, which crimes were never reported to civil authorities but were kept hidden in a secret watchtower database. Jehovah's Witnesses are in the world, but they are not of the world. As Jehovah's representatives, they have the right to disobey laws which they deem to be in conflict with Jehovah's laws. Like the first century Christians, Jehovah's Witnesses must obey Jehovah as ruler rather than men. So it is okay for Jehovah's Witnesses to withhold the truth for the purpose of misleading enemies of Jehovah, even if they do so in courts of law after having sworn to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Before visiting a Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses, be advised that Jehovah's Witnesses are well-groomed and modestly dressed. Their female approved associates wear minimal makeup and jewelry and choose tailored pantsuits or dresses that show no cleavage with hemlines below the knee. Their male approved associates refrain from wearing tight pants, which were designed by homosexuals according to the faithful and discreet slave. Visitors are encouraged to adhere to these guidelines in order to fit in and avoid receiving judgmental stares from others. For comments or questions, please contact Jehovah's Witnesses at 1-845-524-3000, 1-845-306-1000, or 1-845-744-6000. Have a nice day, your smiling JW neighbors. So once again, this is a letter written from the viewpoint of a Jehovah's Witness, if Jehovah's Witnesses were completely honest about what they truly believe. And again, my friend Roger, who wrote this letter, is a former Jehovah's Witness. In fact, I'm going to read another letter from Roger in the near future that he wrote to his son, begging him to leave this cult. Roger, thank you for this, and we will do our best to share this with anyone who is willing to listen to it.